Good afternoon and welcome to the South of France circuit. Paul Ricard set high above the Mediterranean for race number 3 of the Hoosier Formula Cup. We've already seen races 1 and 2 yesterday. I'll bring you up to speed on the results of those very shortly. But it has been a blisteringly hot day. And the competition, as you can see on the water bottle flip, is absolutely fierce. But not as fierce as that. Was on track. Absolutely standout performer of the weekend in the car 41. Stepan Suslov has won both races so far for Winfield Racing. The rookie taking both. The first by 11 seconds on a Friday morning. And yesterday afternoon, he won it by just over 3 seconds, both times over Martin Stoyanov, his teammate of Winfield Racing. In fact, Winfield got a 1-2-3 because joining them on the podium, Suslov and Stoyanov, was Alan Orinsky-Hemsani. He came third in race 1, but was a non-classified. He finished after just, he completed how many laps? Just 1 lap, in fact, yesterday afternoon, the rookie. So a fantastic start to the weekend for Orinsky, but not so a great finish to his Friday. So jumping up to the podium was Alexei Storskin from Formula Motorsport, from 4th position in race 1 to 3rd position in race number 2. Now, this race is scheduled to start about 5 time within this category. We have 3 20 race number 3. If you've already joined us this morning for some other racing, we had the GT Sprint Cup and some Legends cars as well. You will have seen from the picture on screen now, there is a heat haze on the track. It is absolutely boiling hot here, south of France, as it should be, might I say. Cars now making their way round towards the grid. Starting on pole will be Stepan Suslov. On the front row with him, Martin Stoyanov, the teammate racing. Then you've got Alexis Storskin, 3rd place finisher from the 2nd race yesterday in the Formula Motorsport. And then joining him on the 2nd row, Lucas Valkyrie for Race Motorsport. This grid for race 3 off the back of the results for race number 2. Yellow flag being held aloft as the cars make their way around from the pits on the opening grid formation lap. And they will be, and ideally they'll be doing something to help keep those drivers cool. Under the engine of the Titus T13 chassis, a 4-cylinder turbo engine, 13-inch wheels. Earlier on this week, they had 2 30-minute minutes. Then have 2 qualifying sessions, which determine the grids for race 1 and 2, before we go racing on 3 occasions across the Friday and the Saturday. They join all 6 rounds on the Ultimate Cup Series, headlining a weekend. So we have Paul Ricard, of course, this weekend. And then in May, we travel to Magny-Cours, staying in France. We go to Mugello in July. We miss out June, so we go to Mugello in July. Visit Spa-Francorchamps in September. Travel to Spain for Navarra for round 5 in October. And Portimao will be the final round this year. It was Paul Ricard last year. Portimao will host the final round this year. It was originally scheduled for the beginning of November. That has been recently, as in the last couple of days, last 24 hours, moved to the end of November. So if you're planning to go to the final round, just make sure you go on the right weekend. It has changed. So the Hoosier Formula Cup. We'll bring you up to speed on the teams and who's been doing what as the race progresses. Yeah, you see the umbrellas out. Very wise. No chance of rain, but less chance of being burnt to a crisp under the sunshine if you're a driver. You've got to spend 20 minutes in it. But they do everything they can to warm the tyres up, but cool the drivers down. Because it will get a little bit sweaty in those cockpits. 21.3 degrees. We've just gone past midday local time. Original start time was 11:55, and I tell you what, we're having a really good day in terms of schedule. We're already, what's that, 3.5 hours into our racing schedule. We had the qualifying earlier for the Prototype Cup. We've already had a Legends race, a Sprint Cup race, and I don't want to sort of jinx it, but, well, I am super jealous of all these fans stood up on the high balcony above the start-finish. Where would you rather be on a Saturday midday in the south of France, stood above the Paul Ricard circuit before some Hoosier Formula Cup racing? What a time to be alive, eh? Plenty more coming up this afternoon. Just to look through the schedule, we've got Legends cars coming up at 2:40. Before that, Clio Cup Series race, one of their weekend. We've got qualifying for tomorrow's Kennel GT Endurance Cup. That's the last race tomorrow. And then from 5 o'clock this afternoon, local time, we go European Endurance Prototype Cup racing for the first time this season. Again, round number 1 of 6. We have got the 1-minute board being held aloft. Engines on, umbrellas down. Make your way off the grid. Scram, off you go. And for the third time this weekend, very shortly, we will go racing in anger. 15-second board about to be held aloft. And they'll make their way under the safety car, come back round to the grid. Now, I'm just trying to grab up some information here. If you're online at the minute, if you're watching from home, there's some brilliant info available on the ultimatecupseries.eu website. Or if you want to follow along on socials, on Facebook or Instagram, you've got the Ultimate Cup Series pages. And a couple of great websites that I'll mention a little bit later as well, that you can catch up on all the live times. Now, this is a series for ambitious, young, single-seater drivers. If you want to climb the ranks of motorsport, at the wheel again of these Tatus F3 T13 cars, only mastery and talent allow you to stand out. And this is considered a springboard to the world elite if you want to race in Formula cars. So the third of 3 20-minute races across this weekend coming up. Stepan Suslov is the man to beat. He has been literally unbeatable so far through 2 races. Let's take a look at your grid off the back of the results in race number 1. First of all, Stepan Suslov, 2-time race winner already this weekend, ahead of Martin Stoyanov on the front row. 2-time runner-up. He is vying for a top position. Behind them, Stolkskin, Valkyrie, Boileau and Giovanni. Before Orinsky in 7th, Walter Ricard in 8th, Alexei Botella in 9th, Thierry Melholm in 11th, and Craig McClatchy rounds up the back of the field. He was a retired racer officially. I think it's non-classified really, in race number 2. In fact, Craig has only completed 1 lap so far this weekend. So fingers crossed for the Australian to get a few more miles or kilometres under his feet today. So 13 cars in total on the grid, all sitting under or above the Tatus 318 Orica engine. And there's your top 2, Stepan Suslov and Martin Stoyanov. The Swede versus the Bulgarian has been the story of the weekend so far. Again, has gone from 4th in race 1 to 3rd in race 2. You know what he wants? A little bit more points. The yellow flag is up. They come towards the line. The final cars take their positions. We will see 5 lights. They will go out. We will start racing at Paul Ricard. Final cars taking their positions. The flags waving ever so gently. A beautiful breeze here in the south of France. Blue skies. 13 engines ready to go. Green flag at the back. 3 lights, 4, 5. Lights go out. And we are racing. It's race number 3 at Paul Ricard in the Hoosier Formula Cup. Here we go. Stepan Slufov unbeatable so far this weekend. Martin Stoyanov next door. The Swede v the Bulgarian into turn number 1. The left-hander, then the right. Before the chicanes at 3, 4 and 5. Alexei Storskin, again, desperate to move up from 4th to 3rd to 2nd or even 1st, but the gap between the top 2 already flying away. Earlier on in race number 1 yesterday morning, Suflov won by 11 seconds and 13 before the rest of the pack. It was a lot tighter in race number 2. Are we going back to race 1 formations? Suslov and Stoyanov lead through the first few corners. They'll make the way for the first time in race 3 onto the Mistral straight. The 2 kilometre straight only split by corners 8 and 9, the chicane in the middle. But a chance to get to absolutely racing speed. The lap times yesterday around about 2 minutes 2, 2 minutes 3. So we'll get 8 or 9 laps in across the course of the race. Last year's champion Nano Lopez has been promoted to the GT Cup, the Endurance Cup. We'll see him again later on this weekend. Took 5 wins lines. And it's already looking like a great season for Stepan Suslov. Leads through the first part of the first lap. No changes in the early stages of lap 1 from where our grid formation began. Is that somebody off in the back going wide? We'll come back to that in a moment. We'll stick to the leaders. It is the number 41 of the Swede who leads the way for Winfield Racing, his teammate, Martin Stoyanov. And again, in race number 1, it was a Winfield 1, 2, 3. And they'll come towards the end of their first lap. Stepan Stoyanov, 1 second clear of Stepan Suflov instead of Martin Stoyanov. There are changes. Frederick Boileau moves up to 4th place. Lucas Valkyrie down to 5th. And Alam Orinsky-Hamsi up to 6th place. Orzinski actually was on the podium in race number 1, but had some trouble, was not classified in race number 2. Wants to regain the form from race 1 of the weekend. We have a yellow flag in sector 2, which they'll be coming on to right now. We did just see in the background a car go off. Oh, a green flag, it was turn 9. It was at the chicane here on the Mistral straight, where things went a little bit wrong for somebody, but we're okay. We're green flag racing. Yeah, there was a reported stop for car number 69, which is Eros Gianni, racing in the DBC Novelli by Race Motorsport. I assume he's got going again. Unfortunately, none did not start for Frederick Morahan. Troubles right at the very beginning, and also Gilles Depere. So only 11 cars officially racing now, but I do not think we'll see Eros Gianni. Whether he stopped temporarily, but maybe he's made his way back to the pits. We'll find out ever so shortly. Sticking towards the front, Stepan Suflov, Martin Stoyanov, then Alexis Storskin. It's the Formula Motorsport man trailing the 2 Winfield cars. And as they're all racing exactly the same chassis and engine, this will be super close racing throughout. So I think we're down to 10 cars now from the original 13 on the start sheet. come over second lap. No changes whatsoever from lap number 1. It's Suslov, Stoyanov, Storskin, Boileau, Valkyrie, Omanski, Himansi. One change in 7th and 8th. Craig McClatchy moves up to 7th, knocking Walter Ricard down to 8th. And this, in fact, already with 2 laps down, is the most racing that Craig McClatchy has done so far this weekend. Not gone past lap number 1. He's not just completed 2 laps, he's an overtake move as well on Walter Ricard. McClatchy, another of the Winfield Racing team members, 4 of them on Ricard, racing for Formula Motorsport in the same team, same garage as Alexei Storskin. Now, we do have 2 categories in Hoosier. We have the rookies and the gentlemen. Just to age and experience. And there is, of course, the overall winner, which is Stepan Suslov, with the point system. Let me just get that point system for you. Wins get you 28 points, 24 for second, 20 for third, right down to 1 point for 20th place. So even finishing in, let's say, 10th position, we've got 10 cars remaining, and that's still going to get you 11 points in the championship. So this is where, even if you're not doing particularly well, even a slow race, it doesn't matter. The race in these championships is so important. You see the same stories, you know, they're like on the GT Sport series, exactly the same. Just finishing races often so important. So always get back out if they possibly can. And right now in the pits, Gianni, Morahan and Dapierre. 1.8 seconds now between your top 2. But there is close racing on. It's, was that Lucas Valkyrie of 23 and Alan Orinsky-Cameron? And remarkably, already towards the halfway mark of this 20-minute race. They do not last long. The top 3 there, Suslov, Stoyanov, Storskin, have built a bit of a gap on the rest of the field. 8 seconds then back to 4th place, Frederick Boileau. Races. 6th in race number 1 and 5th in Renault. Currently riding in 4th. That's 5-4. It finished like this. Getting better and better. We always want to improve every single race. Where's the improvement to go though for Suslov? We got a notification that's not relevant to this race. That's okay. A warning flag for car number 28. That's Allegri Butella. Track limits reported at turn 2. You get 3 chances for track limits before you get a penalty. Generally 5 seconds. There's the big wide. So taking a different road there than the rest. Where was that? Was that a turn? I'll have to find out. That would have been at turn 14, 15. There's an off-ramp there. Gaps remain the same for our top 3. 1.8, it's actually 2 seconds out to Martin Stoyanov as they come across the start-finish line again. Now, if you watched the previous race with us, which is the Ultimate GT Sprint Cup, we had a 17-lap race where there was less than half a second between the top 2 drivers. Not saying that's going to be this close. We got 2 seconds between Suslov and Stoyanov, but it was end-to-end, gun to tape, as you might call it in athletics, all the way, with only 1 overtake very early on. The track limits has been cancelled by the warning flag. That's good. So no penalties arising just yet, at least. So purple sectors or purple lap time. 2:02.6 so far for Stepan Suslov, which is already a few thousandths quicker than he managed to go in race 2. But race 1, best lap time 2:02.45. So there's a bit more in there somewhere, a tiny, tiny bit more in there somewhere. That was his last lap, was his fastest lap time. Right, 10 minutes down, 10 minutes to go. We will get about 9 laps of racing in total. So last year's championship winner was Nicolas Lopez. I'm just checking from last year, who have we got in the championship who did... Oh, Frederick Boileau was 8th in the championship last year. We didn't have Suslov, and we didn't have Stoyan. They're both brand new races into Hoosier for the Winfield Racing team. And that gap in eyes is growing to 2.041. 4 seconds back to Alexis Storkskin. Now, Suslov did win the first race by just shy of 12 seconds. Much closer in the second, 4 seconds only between the two teammates. And other than the top 3, it was then over 30 seconds back to the rest of the field. So the top 3 have been pretty dominant, you've got to say. Yeah, Ricard running in 8th was, yeah. Last year, there was in total, it's around about the same grid size, 13, 14 cars, but over the course of the season, 23 drivers took part at some stage or another. It was Hugh Barter was having an absolutely storming season, countryman of Craig McClatchy. Won 7 of the first 9 races, leading the championship by a mile, but barely raced after round 3. Only raced 3 more times, won 2 of them, but missed 6 races, and eventually finished 4th in the championship. Consistency is key. And Nicolas Lopez, who won the championship in 2025, I'm going to say only won 4 races compared to Hugh Barter's 9, but had podiumed in all but 2 races. Podiumed but all but 2 races across 18 races in total. Remarkable consistency, and that was one in the championship. Second place last year was Aaron Ferrazzano, another of those not racing this year. Gaps growing again at the top. Suslov by close to 3 seconds, almost 5 to Alexis Storkskin, then 15 back to Frederick Boileau and Lucas Valkyrie. So there are, even though it's gaps forming at the top, there are races going on, as you can see on the screen right now, which is the race for 8th, 9th and 10th, which is still going to be 13, 12 and 11 points. So it's Walter Ricard leading that trio in the car number 2, racing for Formula Motorsport. Then you've got Thierry Malon in the 33, racing for Lamo Racing. They're also in the GT Cup. And Alexei Portela in the 28, who is racing for Plantier Racing Team. So nice and close from maybe not to the very front, but there are races in this circuit. So that is what we like to focus on. We'll nip back to the front every so often. That is the pairing. Is that... so, yeah, Erashuani is definitely not with us. His car number is still on the map, but he is off track and elsewhere. So that little pair racing, I believe that is Frederick Boileau and Lucas Valkyrie. They are racing for 4th and 5th. So yellow flag in sector 2. Gone back to green straight away. That's all good. We'll carry on racing. So yeah, Frederick Boileau in car number 4 and Lucas Valkyrie in the 23 for Race Motorsport. They've got a great race on for 4th and 5th. Just see the number 4 there on the wing of Boileau. In fact, they're teammates. Yeah, of course they are. Yeah, they're both with Race Motorsport. So the teammates racing for 4th and 5th. So keep it friendly, guys, as much as you can. And I tell you what, Stoyanov and Stortskin in 2nd and 3rd, they're only a couple of seconds apart as well. That's getting much tighter, even though Suslov is starting to drive away. I think this podium is far from decided yet, the order at least. It's definitely, unless something remarkable happens, it's definitely going to be Suslov, Stoyanov and Stortskin. Order is TBC. 4th and 5th, Lucas Valkyrie gets past Frederick Boileau. Green sector time in sector 1. Now leads by half a second. And as we've been mentioning from last year, this could be so important. As long as you are here for every single race of the season, you are going to be right up there. Four minutes run, we will get one more full lap in, 2 more laps in, depending on when they cross the start and finish line. So this is, we are watching Lucas Valkyrie lead Frederick Boileau, which has changed hands between the teammates for 4th and 5th. There's also a race between, Stoyanov and Stortskin. They are getting closer and closer for 2nd and 3rd. Suslov is, he's away now. This is just his to lose. But there's Lucas Valkyrie in the 23, the black car. The red and white behind him is Frederick Boileau. Oh my goodness me! That is a huge shunt. Oh dear, oh dear. And that one looked a little bit painful. So we are going to see most definitely a red flag. Wow, crikey. Fingers crossed they are okay. These cars are remarkably well built, but that was close racing, too close racing. And 2 into the wall, 1 at speed. I think it was Walter Ricard and Thierry Malholm. Potentially, no, who is that? Where's...
Il y a une deuxième voiture à gauche aussi.
Well, that is fantastic to see driver getting out. That is exactly what we wanted. There was just a hold of breath for a second, because that car was on its side in the air. Thankfully landed on all 4 wheels. And I very much doubt we'll restart this race with 2 minutes to run. Yes, it was Walter Ricard, the number 2 and the 33, Thierry Malholm. Oh, blimey! That would have been a terrifying experience behind them. And let's just be grateful that finished on all 4 wheels. And in fact, although it was going fast, dropped a lot of speed before it hit the wall. You very, very rarely see a Formula car roll over like that. Thankfully, driver's okay. Important things first, hey? So, as things stood, if we leave it as we were, Suslov will take his 3rd win if it stays like this. I doubt we'll see the cars come back out. I will happily be proven wrong. As it stands, Stepan Suslov takes his third win of the weekend. Martin Stoyanov will pick up the runner-up position for the third time this weekend. And Alexis Storskin will take his second podium, third place in race 2, third place in race 3. Because if they come back out, all we're going to get is a lap behind the safety car on one racing lap. Now, those two cars should not be difficult to get off the track, both on all four wheels. They'll be dragged away, and drag being the word. It's a matter of how much damage is done to the barrier, which will have to be repaired. Again, it didn't look too significant. But they will not restart this race until that barrier's back and fixed. So, and naturally the car incident will be investigated at turn 11. Walter Ricard and Thierry Malholm will be keen to get back to the pits and assess the damage with their teams. Ricard has had the most damage done. He's racing for the Formula Motorsport, and Malholm in the Lamo racing car team. So again, the points up for grabs in this championship. With a win, it would be 28 points for the third time this weekend for Stepan Suslov. Which is 84 points, 28 times 3. And Martin Stoyanov, 3 times 24 points. Plenty of points too for Alexis Storskin. Never been outside the top 4. 4th place and 2 third place finishes. If we don't continue, I'm going to keep putting that caveat in there. We might get going again. Here's some highlights though. So away from the line, Stepan Suslov, who has led every single lap of every single race, been on pole position and stayed that way. Martin Stoyanov held on to second place after starting on the front row of the grid. Behind them, Alexis Storskin, 3rd and 4th so far this weekend and holding on to 3rd place. They built gaps of 3 and 5 seconds between that top trio. And then it became really the race of those guys behind them. Lucas Valkyrie ended up in 4th place before we stopped. Just ahead of Frederick Boileau, his teammate, Orinsky Hermansi in 6th after having a non-finish in race 2, but a great start to the weekend in race number 1. And there was tight racing throughout. That was Lucas Valkyrie in the black livery. But that session, unfortunately, all came to an end on lap number 8 with a collision between Walter Ricard and Thierry Malholm, which we will see shortly. But so, although there was a grid lock up there going into the right-hander, 13 cars on the grid. There was 3 patches of racing, and Stepan Suslov will take his 3rd win of the weekend. Race 3, what a great start to Paul Ricard. 5 more ends to come this year.